show. This is breathtaking moment for me, and I have a special guest today on Abundance Show. We believe in empowering you to create the life you desire, and our next guest embodies the mission. Please welcome Laurie Seymour, a quantum connection mentor, certified master trainer, and brilliant mind behind BACA Institute. This is BACA Institute. Laurie has dedicated over 2 decades to teaching self leadership and helping conscious leaders transform their lives by connecting with their inner compass. She is also the author of Unconditional Remembrance and host the fantastic Wisdom Talk radio podcast. Laurie, we are so excited to have you share your wisdom with our audience. Welcome to the show, Laurie.
Uh, Thank you, Zephyr, for having me. I'm really delighted to be here. I think we have the opportunity to talk about some really important things.
Thank you so much for gracing my show, despite the fact you're a very busy professional. You're a writer. You are taking care of an institute that you're the man, the real backbone of the institute, and you've got a lot to do. Still, I mean, you show up to my show. I really thank you so much, Laurie. Yeah, can you please get us your life story?
I didn't ask you before we started about how long we're going to talk, but I'm not going to say much about my life story. I mean, really, I'll say this: I was drawn because of my own inner search, my own inner sensing that there was more to life. I first went into psychology. I mean, that was my training. That I taught psychology at the graduate level. I had a private practice, and what I started experiencing was that there were other ways to tap into what our potential is. And you talk about abundance, your whole focus is about abundance. To me, abundance is about tapping into what our potential is. It's not about thinking we need to fix ourselves. It is about recognizing how we believe that we're separate. Because as long as we believe that we're separate from the universe, separate from the source of the universe, the energetic source, separate me from you, separate country to country, we're not going to be abundant. We don't have the capacity to be abundant as long as we're limiting ourselves by thinking, by only using our thinking, by not using our recognition that we are more than what we just see when we look at one another. We are the same inside. And isn't it wonderful that, we've been created in so many different expressions, because the world needs all of these different expressions that we each carry.
Thank you, Laurie. This is pretty emotional too. But I mean, you talk of quantum connections, and then you always talk that one should connect to oneself. It's everything. I mean, everything is awaken the giant within. Like you want to connect us for. Can you elaborate, and how can I connect to myself?
When I use the term quantum connection, what I'm really recognizing is that everything in the universe is energy. Everything. I mean, everything is energy. And what we see as matter, that's really just energy. It's formed for our eyes and coalesced in a certain way. But beyond that, it's energy. Beyond that, it's all energy. And so as we allow ourselves to tap into that, because we can, if everything everything in the universe is that potential, we have that within ourselves because we are that. And so recognizing how is it that my own makeup, how I am made up inside, um, is drawn to connecting with the universe? Am I somebody that really loves to be in leadership? I love to be at the front of the pack. I've got an idea and I want to run with it. But then how do I tap into that bigger picture so that I don't burn out with that potential of realizing that big idea? If we realize that we're nothing just simply by ourselves, but that we have a bigger connection with this universe that we're part of, then we get to tap into that. We get to, even simply letting your own body relax and tune into the inspiration that's coming. Let let yourself receive it. And as you receive it, it's not just simply to get into action. Now I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this big new idea I have. But to continually return to the part of you that is part of everything, part of that universal field, and keep receiving that inspiration, keep tuning in, keep checking in. That realize that the expertise that you need, some of it is outside, some of it is things you can get in a classroom, from another expert, from reading a book, but a lot of it is from you expanding into more and more of who you are and tapping into more and more of your own inner potential.
Thank you so much. Laurie, could you elaborate on what you mean by achieving and aligning with source? How does this particularly impact someone's daily life and their ability to create abundance?
Because source is every has all of the abundance you could ever dream about, and a hundredfold more. And so if you're thinking that you are just this little mm, blob in the world, you don't feel that connection. You don't feel that connection with source. So what my book is about, and it's just coming out. The soft launch is next week. It's just, this is in the period where everything is happening behind the scenes to birth this book. It's about remembering that connection that we never we never really die. When whatever your belief system is, we come in with the full remembrance, but then we forget. We forget that connection. And when we start to remember that connection with source, and we can talk about the how of that, but when we start to remember, we start to realize, we start to be able to see the situations in our life differently than we could if we're only looking at it from outside, from thinking that everything that's real, the only thing that's real is what we see, forgetting that there's a much bigger picture. And that's where abundance lives, is in that bigger picture. And it translates into physical abundance. It doesn't mean, well, I just have to have the spiritual connection and then all is well. It also means receiving that inspiration. So if we're connected to source and we get an idea and we don't act on it, we just sit and say, well, that's for somebody else, or I really can't do that, or it's too hard. No. If it's come to you, if that idea has come to you, see how you need to make it real. See how you need to, bring it into being, and let that connection that I'm talking about continue, so that it's not just for the idea, it's also for the execution of the idea. How do I make this real? How do I bring this into being? And underneath all of that is, when you feel that kind of alignment in yourself, when you feel that sensibility of feeling the love, because it is that vibration of unconditional love. And I don't know how that's going to sound to you, but for me, it's that experience of of love and of joy. And that when that's there, that's the creative intelligence of the universe. And that to me is abundance.
Wow, wow, that's amazing manifestation of abundance.
Yeah.
Your work emphasizes, Laurie, on amplifying one's inner guidance
Hmm.
system. For our listeners who might feel disconnected from theirs, where is the best place to
Mm,
start?
that's a
And
wonderful question.
what's one and what's one actionable step that can be taken today?
Depending upon where you are in your own exploration of life, um, it may be that you need to start with the experiment. You don't have to jump into believing it, but an experiment that there is more to life, meaning what I see is not all there is. What I see is not all that's possible. I am not trapped by what I see as my limitations. So part of what helps with that is to start noticing the bits of magic, the bits of when something happens that you don't expect, when there's a synchronistic experience, when you have an idea or a thought about something, and then suddenly it happens, like you thought of a friend and they call you. Those are small, that doesn't matter how big or how small they are, but they're all the same experience of tuning into your inner guidance system. And when you start to realize that you have one, then you can say, "Well, I wanna know more about it." And you're not gonna learn that from reading a book. Although you can read my book and you hopefully you'll get something about that. You're really gonna learn that best by sitting in quiet, by taking a few minutes, maybe a few times a day, to take a couple of breaths and to let yourself just settle into yourself and get quiet. We're always so busy trying to figure everything out. But if you can get quiet, then your own that little voice within you can start to have room to hear it. And it's those inner nudges, those nudges that say, "Ah, there's something that I need to pay attention to." And every one of us has had that experience multiple times. Many times we ignore it and we say, "Well, that's not important." But I can tell you countless stories of big and little things that I have ignored to and then I've paid the price for that. And I've seen that. And I can also tell you the stories where when I've paid attention, when I've had the sensing of, "Oh, I need to call that person," or "I need to take this course of study." And I've had such a strong feeling and I've gone into it, and yes, my own inner guidance system has said yes, and I've done that. And then I see I don't know why I'm doing it necessarily or what it's going to offer to me, but I have that feeling of kind of inner resonance. And so following those things, we get to be the inner researcher. We get to explore what's possible. And when I say the experimental mindset, that allows you to be that researcher, to say, "Okay, I'm going to put this to the test. I'm going to pay attention. I'm not going to override these gut feelings that I have." We're talking about the world of physics and how we're able to, because we're part of this universe, we are able to receive and exchange information. And I don't mean intellectual information, but the information that shows up in those nudges, in those hunches, in that inner voice.
Amazing. I mean, once we listen to ourselves, the inner, and then we get connected to this. This is amazing. Okay, the Laurie, the unlearning is almost impossible. I mean, to generally, whatever my belief pattern is, I keep fighting to you, and I always keep. I don't want to unlearn, and then I don't want to relearn. This is there is inertia.
Mm.
I mean, how this is my own bottleneck, probably everybody's.
Mhm.
So how can you help me overcome this?
Well, I'm not sure I understand your question. I don't think we have to unlearn so much as being willing to expand beyond what we already think. So, um, I'd say the majority of the population in the world focuses just on, how am I going to get myself fed? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to make a living in order to do? How am I going to stay safe? Whether you're in a first world country or a developing world economy or whatever it is, at base, some of those some of those they're more than desire. Some of those needs are there, and it's to not so much try and unlearn as expand into something new. And how do we do that? We only do that by our willingness to experience something new and to maybe question, to start with that question of, am I willing to experience something new, something beyond what I already know?
Thank you so much. Thank you, really,
Mm.
really. Thank you so much. Okay, Laurie, how do I fight with my limiting beliefs when I will limit myself to certain thing that I can't do this, I can't do this, this is not possible, I'm not for this, my this is not my
Mhm.
chemistry. So how to overcome my limiting beliefs?
That's a really important question, and you have to have the some kind of desire, curiosity. Okay, I have these limiting beliefs, but I have also alongside of it have some kind of idea, or even if it's just a small glimmer of an idea, that I might be wrong. I might be, maybe there's more. I in my life have had so much self-doubt that I had the sensing that there was more that was possible, and at the same time, I carried such a big sense of self-doubt, of doubting, of really doubting that connection with presence, with that bigger universe. And side by side, I'd have the feeling of something possible and then the doubt that it could be possible. And when you start to experience that there is something more, but you have to be willing to experience, you have to be willing to explore. And if you're not, then this conversation probably has no value for you. It doesn't, it's not magic. Eh, You have to have that something inside yourself that, and I think of it this way, that remembers that there's a bigger truth.
Thank you so much. I mean, every word is a
Mm,
jewel. Every word
thank
is
you.
wisdom, and I cannot thank you enough for your each word. Okay, Laurie, how can we bring these different tribes together, different countries together, different school of thought together? Despite the fact now we are living in a global village, yet we are miles apart.
You broke up through most of that, so I don't think I got the question.
Okay, I'll just try to rephrase it. I mean, since we people have our own set of beliefs, and we generally disagree and do not, we are not ready to listen to someone else's perspective. So how to get to broader common
Mm.
grounds?
That's the question. I think even if people don't think it is, I think that's one of the most important questions of our time today. I don't mean our conversation. I mean in the world. And the common ground is recognizing that really all there is common ground. All there is the fact that I remember one of my teachers saying, you know, I need to look across at the person across from me and recognize that not only is God within me, but God is within them. Doesn't Nothing else matters but that. And when we remember that, then the conversation takes on a whole different tone. It's not how you live your life or what particular version of that realization of God within that you experience in your life. That doesn't matter. What matters is the recognition that there's there's that love within me, there's that love within you. And I don't mean emotional love, I mean that frequency of unconditional love. And when we can remember that in ourselves, that's when well, I'll say that for me, when I remember that in myself, and that's what I mean by unconditional remembrance, that I come from that and I am that. I come from that connection and I am that connection. Then when I look across at somebody else, when I look across at you right now, I know the same is true for you, whether or not you remember that in this moment.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Laurie, you mentioned that your process lead to deeper peace, love,
Mhm.
joyful abundance, and a thriving professional and personal life. Can you share a story or example of how you've seen this unfold for one of your clients?
Mm. This may end up yes, I mean, of course I can, I'm searching through the who do I wanna talk about, but I think it's more a general experience of that remembrance, and what I have seen over and over again is that when that becomes a more fundamental way of viewing oneself and viewing the world, that those big ideas that people have start to become real because they don't stop themselves. So, um, where they've had a great idea and then they set all kinds of roadblocks up in the way, s suddenly because they're feeling that connection from within themselves, they know that this is their idea. They know it's theirs to do, and they stop letting themselves be sidetracked by their doubt or their fear or they don't get so exhausted because the stress of fighting with yourself really gets in the way, creates so much exhaustion. And then that goes away because what you're continually refueled and refilled by this energy that is limitless. The universe is limitless. And yeah, when we can get into the fine details of the physics of that, but energy, we create upon creation. And so if the essence of the universe is a creative universe, we are that. So that's what I see with my clients is that they start to it's not a belief system. They begin to experience that because I work with energy with people, and so I activate those energy systems within them. So it's not about having to rely on anything outside of themselves in that ongoing way because they've learned how to tap into that. They learn how to regularly receive it because it's available. When I say it, I mean that love, that recognition, that remembrance. It's all available.
Great. The concept of discernment, I mean, if I'm pronouncing
Yes.
it correctly, this is DIS,
Hmm.
discernment. Using knowledge and expertise with redefined institution sounds incredibly powerful. How can someone cultivate this skill, especially when making significant decisions?
Wow. Big question. Discernment is so critical because we tend to, as humans, we tend to go with the ego, with the kind of first, with keeping ourselves safe. We, from not going into something new, from not expanding beyond the limitations that we have imposed upon ourselves. So, here's how I like to think about discernment. Uh, when I have an idea about something, I get a sensing of, wow, yes, I can I can get excited. I can get all charged up. But maybe depending upon the quantum connection archetype that you are, and I don't think we don't have enough time to go into that. Um, you may be the kind of person that gets lots of ideas. Then you've got to have discernment about which idea is right for you, because you might be getting an idea for your best friend or for somebody you're going to have a meeting with later. You also have to have the discernment about, is the timing for this right? And by right, I mean, we're working within levels and levels of interconnected energy systems. I mean, that's really what the world is, what the universe is. And just because I've gotten that idea doesn't mean it's something that needs to be acted upon or acted upon in this moment. So discernment comes from our own interconnection. It's not something we can ask ChatGPT about. Oh, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right timing? We have to get attuned to how our body feels, because our body is a great sensor, and we can use that to start to see, is this the right direction? Is this the right movement? Is this the right timing? And once you start to develop discernment, things move more quickly because um, you're not going down dead ends. You're not going down into something that, yeah, you had the idea of it, but it was just an idea, and it wasn't something you needed to actually do. If you get 30 ideas, which one is the idea that you need to move with now? That's where discernment has become so essential. And not to discernment is very different than judgment, and it's very different than fear. If there's fear informing your decision, you're not there in alignment with presence. You're not there in alignment with source. You're in your fear. And so those are good ways of starting to notice for yourself. Oh, am I in judgment about this situation? Am I in judgment about this other person? Because as soon as that's there, you can't really get to discernment.
Thank you,
Mm,
Laurie. You are the steward of energetic technology called
mm.
Toraya Touch and Toraya Meditation. Can you tell us more about this and how it complements the quantum connection
Mm,
process in raising vibration?
absolutely. Turea Touch and Turea Meditation came through my teacher that I studied with for over 25 years. And the essence of it is about work for me. It's about working with what I call higher consciousness energy symbols that focus the energy in a particular way for people so that those um, those capacities are activated within themselves. Those parts of your blueprint that have been dormant, have been sleeping, that you've forgotten about, and they can become activated so that you can use them. So for me, Turiya Touch is a hands-on way of working. Turiya Meditation is a meditation. It's not, you can I teach Turiya meditation live online, for example, twice a week. And when I say teach, I mean that we hold these gatherings online at a particular time. We're all there together in a Zoom window. And while I'm focusing energy during the time of the meditation, people are enabled to receive at a deeper level, to experience that love at a deeper level and more easily. And then that grounding within your own ability to do that, to tap into that, to in a moment to take a breath, to take a breath and feel your own inner connection. And it's all about that. It's about discovering and building the pathways to that connection so that it's always there. It is always there and it's always present. It's just that we need to remember it. And we remember it through feeling it, through experiencing it. So the Turiya Touch and the Turiya Meditation are two ways that I know that are incredible for experiencing that connection directly.
Thank you so much. Okay, my next question, Laurie, is what does unconditional remembrance mean
Mm.
to you, and how does it tie into the work you do at BACA, Baka, if I'm pronouncing it right, Baka Institute?
Well, it's foundational to the work I do with every piece of the Baca Institute. Unconditional remembrance is about that remembrance of where we come from, that we come from that whole connection, that connection of beyond before we're born, and it'll be there after we die. Our physical bodies go, but we are part of this universal system, this universal um, field of energy, this unconditional field of energy. And so as we remember that, we begin to have a different perspective on on life. And it's that which creates true abundance because then we're not there forgetting. I think forgetting is built into the human experience. We come in, we're born, and we have to figure out how do I navigate? Okay, I'm crying. I'm crying so that my parents will feed me or change me or pick me up and hold me. And we get very focused on how are our caregivers caring for us and are my needs being met? And whether or not your needs are met starts to determine the next pieces of your life. But when have remembered that no matter what in my outer physical life, I have that connection. I am loved. So that unconditional remembrance is there to support me, to guide me, to um, allow me to remember the truth of what life is, not just the truth of who I am, but the truth about what life is. And and from there, then we get to create. So all the things that we may want to do in the world. And we look around, the world needs our creations. It needs the solutions to thorny problems. And we can't come to what those solutions are in the old ways. We can't come to them by looking outside. We've got to look inside because when we look inside, that's where we connect with the vastness that's so much bigger than anything that our our mental construct has given to us.
Thank you, Laurie. Looking ahead, what's next for the Baka Institute and new insights or developments are you most
Mm.
excited to bring to the world?
I'm glad I get to speak to that question. You keep asking great questions, really. It's just, I thought, oh, okay. Um,
Yeah. So okay, I mean, I'll take the opportunity if you're really happy. So, do you allow me to take it to the, I mean, series of podcast after your books
mhm.
out in the market?
So as the book comes out, I know that I know that's going to change a lot of things, and I don't know how, and that's okay. I get to experience that. But even before the book was finishing, what was really coming to me, what I was being guided to do, were to do these very small, intimate gatherings called salons of life, and that and I'm doing them around the world. So this is not something that is kind of open to, okay, we're going to invite 6,000 people. These are being held in people's homes. And right now, they're people that I know. They're people that want to gather a small group of their friends. And I go in to offer an experience, and everyone is different because every group is different. But it's an experience, it's that direct experience of unconditional remembrance. And it, it's such a loving time. And to me, this is the beginning of creating the kind of web of that unconditional remembrance throughout the world. And that's why I know that it's important for me to do this. I know it's important for me to do this around the world. I haven't even done one where I live in the world, but and there's a small Patreon group that has started from the people that have done these. But again, all of this is as you asked the question of what am I looking towards. This is all pretty brand new. Um, and then I broke my leg recently, so I kind of got stopped from traveling for a little bit. But all that is gone, or all I'm through all that, and we're on to the next travels and to see how this will unfold. And I don't know. That's the thing. I'm not invested in it. It's something that I have been told I am to do. When I say told, I mean from my own inner guidance system. And so I'm doing it. I'm listening and I'm following through.
This makes me sad. I mean, when I learn about your broken legs, what happened?
What do you mean?
I mean, you telling about something, the breaking about legs, or I took it wrong.
Oh, about breaking my leg? Oh, well,
Yeah.
it's no big deal. I mean, it's done. It's healed.
That's cool. Okay, thank goodness. I mean, this is a relief for me. Again, for our listeners who are inspired by what you've shared today, what is the single most important piece of advice you'd offer them on their journey towards greater abundance and self leadership?
What's coming to me right now is that experience of remembering that if you can, even if you don't fully believe it, if you can start from the place of curiosity to say, what if to yourself? What if what I see is not all there is? What if I am loved? What if I am connected now and forevermore, no matter what? And then to take a breath, to take a full inhalation, let it go, let it fill you. And in doing that, Feel what that is. To me, when I breathe, when I take a conscious breath, not just the breath, I mean, we're all breathing, but when I take a conscious, intentional breath and let my body receive it and relax and feel it through my whole chest cavity, that's the intelligence. The breath has intelligence. It knows exactly what to do. Our mental head doesn't have to get in there. We don't have to get in there and say, okay, now you got to mix with these chemicals and you got to go here and there. We don't have to. We can trust that the breath knows exactly what to do. And it's activating whatever needs to be activated. So pay attention. So it's be curious and pay attention.
Laurie Seymour, the writer, the podcaster, CEO of Baka Institute, the lady behind Quantum Connection, and the mentor, and the bestseller author, and the host of top rated podcast Wisdom Talk Radio. I really, really do not have words to thank you, and I cannot thank you enough for your time. That's a part of life that you have given to us, and this will surely gonna transform a lot of people's life. At least I am too
Mm.
inspired. I mean, truly inspired. Thank you so much for being part of my
Oh,
show. See you
bye
next time.
bye.
Bye bye.